The December rain hammered against the hospital windows like nature's cruel reminder that some storms never pass. Sarah Chen pressed her face against the cold glass of the pediatric ward's break room, watching streams of water blur the city lights below. Her worn scrubs clung to her exhausted frame, and the eviction notice in her locker felt like a weight crushing her chest. 24 hours. That's all she had left before becoming another statistic in a city that chewed up dreamers and spit out their bones. She'd poured everything into becoming an LZ, every dollar, every sleepless night studying, every sacrifice. But student loans were merciless creditors, and a nurse's salary in Manhattan was like trying to fill the ocean with a teaspoon. The irony wasn't lost on her. She spent her days healing others while her own life crumbled around her. "Excuse me, are you Sarah Chen?" She turned to find a man in an expensive charcoal suit standing in the doorway. Even exhausted, she recognized him immediately as David Morrison, the tech billionaire whose face graced magazine covers and whose company had revolutionized medical software. But up close, she saw something the cameras never captured. The hollow exhaustion in his eyes that mirrored her own. "Mr. Morrison, is everything all right? Is it Emma?" Sarah's professional instincts kicked in. His 7-year-old daughter had been her patient for weeks, battling a rare autoimmune condition that had baffled specialists across the country. David stepped into the small break room, his usual commanding presence somehow diminished. "She's stable, thanks to you. But I need to talk to you about something else entirely." He paused, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I overheard you on the phone earlier. You're being evicted." Heat flooded Sarah's cheeks. She thought she was alone when she'd made that desperate call to her landlord, begging for just one more week. "I'm sorry you had to hear that. It won't affect my work with Emma, I promise." "That's not why I'm here." David moved closer, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "Emma asks about you constantly. She lights up when you walk into the room in a way she hasn't since." He swallowed hard. "Since her mother died 2 years ago." The pain in his voice was raw, unfiltered. Sarah had wondered about Emma's mother but had never asked. Hospital protocol and simple human decency kept those questions locked away. "She's an incredible little girl," Sarah said softly. "Brave beyond her years." "She is. But she needs more than medical care, and I'm failing her." David's admission hung in the air like a confession. "I've got nannies, tutors, therapists, everyone except the one thing she really needs. A mother figure who genuinely cares about her." Sarah's breath caught. "Mr. Morrison, what are you saying?" He turned to face her fully, and she saw a vulnerability that Forbes would never publish. "You need a home. I need someone Emma trusts to help raise her." "This isn't some fairy tale proposition. No, it's a practical arrangement between two people who could help each other." "You're offering me a job as a live-in nanny?" Sarah's mind raced, trying to process the surreal turn her evening had taken. "I'm offering you a partnership in raising my daughter. You'd have your own wing of the house, complete independence, and a salary that would make your student loans disappear. But more than that, you'd have the chance to be the maternal influence Emma desperately needs." Sarah stared at him, searching for signs this was some elaborate joke. But David Morrison didn't look like a man who joked about his daughter. He looked like a man drowning, reaching for the only lifeline he could see. "Why me?" she whispered. "Because when Emma had that seizure last week, you didn't just treat her symptoms, you held her hand and sang to her until she felt safe. Because you remember that she likes her apple juice warm and that she's afraid of the dark. Because in 3 weeks, you've shown her more genuine maternal instinct than a parade of highly qualified professionals have in 2 years." The weight of his words settled over Sarah like a blanket. She thought of Emma's bright smile, Her endless questions about nursing school, her habit of drawing pictures for Sarah during treatment breaks. The little girl had indeed carved out a space in her heart. "This is insane," Sarah breathed. "We barely know each other. You know my daughter, and she knows you. Sometimes that's enough to build on." David's voice grew steadier, more businesslike. "Look, I'm not talking about marriage or romance. I'm talking about two adults who could help each other while giving Emma what she needs. You get financial security and a home. I get peace of mind knowing someone Emma trusts is looking out for her when I can't be there." Sarah walked back to the window, watching the rain continue its relentless assault on the city. 24 hours ago, her biggest worry had been finding enough change for the subway. Now a billionaire was offering her a complete life makeover. What happens when Emma gets better? When she doesn't need a nurse anymore? Then you'll have helped save my daughter's life twice, once medically, and once by giving her the emotional support she needs to heal. That's not a debt I'd ever ask you to repay by leaving. Something in his tone made her turn around. David was looking at his hands, and for the first time, Sarah saw him not as the intimidating CEO from magazine covers, but as a scared father who lost his wife and was terrified of failing his sick child. "Can I think about it?" The words slipped out before she could stop them. "Of course." "But Sarah?" He looked up, meeting her eyes. "Emma asked me tonight if angels were real. I told her I wasn't sure. But watching you with her these past weeks, I think I might have been wrong." After he left, Sarah stood alone in the break room, the eviction notice burning in her back pocket and David Morrison's proposition echoing in her mind. She thought about Emma's laugh, about the drawings taped to her hospital bed, about the way the little girl's face had lit up when Sarah had promised to teach her how to braid friendship bracelets once she got better. Maybe this was insane. Maybe it was the answer to prayers she'd been too proud to say out loud. Or maybe, just maybe, it was proof that sometimes the most broken people could help each other heal. 3 days later, Sarah stood in the marble foyer of a penthouse that could have housed her entire nursing class, a single suitcase in her hand and Emma Morrison wrapped around her waist. "I knew you'd say yes," Emma whispered against her scrubs. "Daddy cries less when you're here." Over Emma's head, Sarah met David's grateful gaze. Neither of them knew what came next, but they both understood something fundamental had shifted. Sometimes family wasn't about blood or law or even love at first sight. Sometimes it was about showing up when someone needed you most and choosing to stay when you could have walked away. As Emma tugged her toward the living room to show off her art supplies, Sarah realized she wasn't just saving Emma Morrison's emotional well-being. In some profound way, this fierce little girl and her grieving father were saving hers too. The storm outside had finally passed, and for the first time in months, Sarah Chen felt like she was home.